listening to the Becoming More Me podcast with me, Theresa Lear Levine. You're already enough. But if you're anything like me, you thrive when you're stretching and developing yourself, creating more of the person you feel called to be. This podcast is here to inspire and support you. Let's release the negative, reinforce the positive, and elevate our vibe together as we tap into our limitless potential to transform and grow. Hello, hello. Well, this feels a lot more official this week because we've already kind of ripped off the Band-Aid with the first episode last week. And with that, I feel like I can actually just dive into things and I don't need to preface as much. And that feels really good. But I feel like there's also still a lot to put together for you and to help you understand where I come from and what I can help you with. So today, I wanted to explore why EFT. If you follow me on social media or you follow my business, while the podcast is Becoming More Me, my business is Becoming More Me with EFT. And if you're not familiar with EFT, it is the emotional freedom technique. Sometimes people call it tapping. And it has been around the way that we know it since the early 1990s, but it stems from ancient Chinese practices and things that have been around for thousands of years. So it's based in, rich science and ancient wisdom and a lot of other things, but it's also really fun to combine with all the woo-woo things that I love too. But I think part of the reason why I love it so much is because you don't have to. You can do EFT straight up and address anything that you can feel. But here's the thing. I probably heard about EFT the first time, back 2008, 2010, it was somewhere in there. I was already having babies. I have 4 boys and they range in age now in 2021 from 4 years old to 16 years old. And so I had already had at least one child when I first heard of it. And I think the original things that I heard people using EFT for were things like sports performance, or overcoming PTSD for war veterans and things like that. And I brushed it off really because I didn't see the way that it applied to me personally. I thought, wow, this is really cool. I mean, I have a background in psychology and I'm always interested in things that bring together the mind-body connection. And when they incorporate spirit and soul and other things too, even better. But for me, I wasn't putting it together. I wasn't getting that this had the limitless potential that it does to help me to work on anything that I was struggling with, not just sports performance or PTSD. So I dismissed it. And, when you're not looking for something, you usually don't see it. And it's true all over the place. And then also, when you are ready for something, when the student is ready, the teacher appears. So I would get these little inklings, these little, an article might show up or something, and I would see EFT mentioned or tapping mentioned, and it would start to talk about more things that seem to relate to my world. I would hear about it being used for headaches and migraines. I had a couple of really bad car accidents a couple of decades ago that I had a lot of chronic pain and migraines and things like that from. So for me, I could think, wow, that would be amazing to be able to do this technique and not have a headache, or even just to be able to feel better, even if I couldn't get rid of it. That would be amazing because I couldn't touch that pain with pharmaceuticals or sleep or time or anything else. So something that could be done in 10 minutes or less that didn't cost anything and that also lowered my stress hormones and everything else sounded amazing. And then I would hear about it in books that I would read. I'm a personal development junkie, so I am always listening to audiobooks. Pretty much got audiobook addicted after I had 2 children. I could still fit in reading some books with one child, but the time just seemed to be better spent in other ways once I had 2 and more children. So I am always on my Audible app. I wake up in the morning and I listen to some kind of a book. I'm doing the dishes or the laundry, listening to books or taking programs or courses that I can listen to from my phone. That's just kind of the way I roll. And I remember listening to some books by Denise Duffield Thomas. She wrote Get Rich Lucky Bitch and Chillpreneur. And there's several instances in her books where she talks about tapping and how that would really help her to alleviate stress and to also just kind of rid herself of bad vibes and get in the zone when she was experiencing not feeling like her highest self. And I thought, well, that's really interesting. And I could really just visualize her, stepping into a restroom or something before an event or even during an event, just to kind of shake something off quickly with this round. And I was like, that would be really handy too. But I still didn't quite get it. I wasn't putting it all together. And then I got invited to a retreat for my network marketing business. And we were indulged in an awesome seminar on EFT tapping. It just kind of started to follow me places, And we learned at that one how to use it for things like stress and anxiety. And it was a blessing because it was pre-pandemic. And I think going into the pandemic, that was something that we all needed. But in my mind at that point, I was able to think, okay, so here I am learning how to use this to have less stress, to have less anxiety. And here I'm seeing how to use it to raise my vibe and to, get back in touch with my highest self so that I can do my best. And in other places, I'm seeing how to use it to relieve a headache. And then I'm seeing, war veterans and such using it to deal with traumas from their past. And I'm seeing athletes use it to just outperform themselves time and time again. And I was like, I really do need to learn more about this because it seems, and from what I learned as I researched, it was equally effective on all of these fronts. And come to find out that EFT is amazingly effective on literally anything that you can feel, whether it's emotional, physical, past, present, or future. And when I learned that and realized that it literally applied to everything in every way that I wanted to learn, to grow, to change, to transcend, that's when I got hooked. And that's when I decided I not only need to learn how to do this so that I can help myself through the things that I want, I need to master this and be able to help other people, especially once I started diving into it and seeing what it did for me. Because I always like to make sure something works before I recommend it to somebody else. So I will always be my own guinea pig. And that's what I did. But do you ever have things like that where they keep kind of nudging at you? And you almost keep not listening or saying not yet or not ready or I'm not sure. And then all of a sudden, it's like the doors open up. I know it happens sometimes like when we go car shopping and things like that. With 4 kids and a large family and a dog and the desire to be able to take other people with us places, I drive a Nissan NV 12-person passenger van. Now, it wasn't like my dream car or anything, but I actually love it. And it's so super practical and amazing for the things that we do as a family. But prior to acquiring that vehicle, I don't think I could have even told you what that vehicle was. If you'd asked me like, what's a Nissan NV? I have no idea. But as soon as my husband brought it home, like days after our 4th child was born, I saw them everywhere. I saw other moms driving them. I saw business owners driving them. I saw delivery drivers driving them. They were everywhere because what we focus on, we create, we see, we are open to all of that. You can even try this exercise. So look around your room right now and look for everything that's purple. Just take a couple seconds, count all the purple things that you can find. Just give you a few seconds. And stop. So how many purple things did you find? Okay, you know that, right? Now, how many yellow things did you see? None, right? You weren't looking for yellow. You were looking for purple. So what we focus on, we really do create and bring to us, and we don't really notice the other stuff. And that's how it was for me with EFT. And for a lot of years, I was focused in on other things. I was focused in on other therapies and other personal and self-development and self-education. And I was learning a ton, but at the end of the day, I always felt like if I know so much, why don't I feel so much better? Why am I still not where I want to be? Or things aren't still going the way that I want them to completely. And that was always the question that remained. And EFT became the bridge, really, that helped me to see where I was stuck and to remove that blockage, because that's what EFT does. We all have these energetic blockages, and everything is energy. And when we can get in there with the combination of the tapping, which we do, with our fingertips on meridian endpoints of our body, and the modern psychology of talking through the issue, even if we don't fully know the issue, we can make progress like we never imagined. And I really had to try it on some things that I could see an immediate result in order to understand how well it was going to work on the less tangible applications. For instance, when you can alleviate a headache in a few minutes with EFT, there is an amazing feeling of empowerment and power that you get. You realize that you have this power inside of you, and that when you access and harness it, you can change the way that you feel. And the same goes for other things like back pain or other physical pains or ailments where you can see and feel a change instantaneously, or even fears. So sometimes we get these bothersome memories about things that just really get to us. And for me, there was like a horror movie that I had seen when I was younger. And I don't think it was a movie. I think it was like a Tales from the Crypt episode or something, like something that should have been basic and almost even humorous. But as an empath, I'm just so much more sensitive to the potential ill feelings that go along with things that I don't do well with horror and gore and even like the news. And I was having weird feelings thinking back to that even decades later. Now, I did one tapping session after I'd been through all of my levels of certification on myself about that particular episode, the feelings that it gave me, all of that kind of stuff, and it no longer bothers me. And that's huge. I mean, it's not like that was weighing on me every day or anything, but anytime it popped up, I just had that gut check, yucky feeling, and it did not make me feel good. And I was able to rid myself of that in under 10 minutes. So those things make it a lot easier to work on, things like increasing your self-love or getting over limiting beliefs or clearing your money blocks so that you can be more financially abundant, or working on relationships that have been through difficulties. It makes it a lot easier to lean into the power that exists there, even though the results aren't immediately apparent, when you can work on things where the change is instantaneous. So I always like working on a combination of things with myself that are both, because it keeps me centered in that power that I have, and that knowing that I am whole and complete and capable, whether I'm working on something tangible or intangible. So just want to offer that to you if you are beginning to work with EFT and feeling like maybe it's not working or something. Now, there's a lot of reasons why EFT doesn't appear to work too, but that's for another episode. But anyway, so for me, once I went to that retreat and EFT kind of became in the forefront of my brain, something that I wanted to learn and grow with, that's when I took off with it. And it's been such a blessing ever since, in my own life and my own ventures, and with my family, and with my business and everything else. It has been such a blessing, and I'm so glad that I pursued it. But it's a lesson too. I mean, outside of just talking about EFT, it's a lesson to listen to those little things that kind of ping you over the years, that keep popping up, that might be like a whisper at first, and then they get louder and louder, because it's a call to listen to your intuition, that knowing that's inside of you. Because, I mean, intuition is trusting the feelings that you have, the knowing that's inside of you, even though you don't know how or why you know it. And I have found that the most amazing shifts and changes have happened in my life when I have opened myself up to listening to that inner voice, increasing my belief in trusting my intuition. And when you get those gut check feelings, because we have neurotransmitters in our gut area. So that's why we call it a gut check or a gut feeling. There's literally a feeling that goes along with intuitive things that are happening for us. So always keep that in mind. And I hope that you are able to listen to yours and get some amazing guidance from it for whatever it is that you feel called to do and grow with. But that is how I came to know and understand and run with the idea of becoming an EFT master practitioner. And we will expand more upon all of the different branches of that and the ways that that can help you in your life with the things that you're being called to in future episodes. But I definitely thank you for tuning in today and appreciate you being here. Till next time, bye-bye. Thanks so much for listening. If you loved this episode, please share it with a friend or post on social media and tag me so I can personally connect and thank you. Until next time, keep taking bold and brave action steps towards becoming more of who you want to be in this world. You are capable, you are worthy, and you are enough. Keep shining your light.